Hello and welcome back to the Open Resourcery. So today we're going to be expanding on the psychic gifts video series that we are doing, and I have one of my dear friends, Raven, in here. If you would introduce
Why,
yourself.
hello there.
Okay.
My name is Raven or Rebecca. Either one's fine.
And she is very much like myself, and I figured this would be a fantastic conversation to have over the psychisms. So these would be what I have called the clairs of the psychic gifts world. All of those mediumship things. So first, we're going to dive into clairvoyance. So what the ever loving heck is clairvoyance? So here, this is the ability to see things. This is seeing energy, seeing spirits, seeing all of those. I would love to know, what are your experiences with seeing things?
Gosh, where to start? Um, well, there's the good and then there's the bad. And of course, when you first start seeing things, it's so confusing because it's like you're seeing the real world, but then you're seeing like the extra layer that the
Hmm.
real world has. And it's just so freaky and trippy at first.
A little bit. I will heavily agree with that. Okay. So how did you know that like you weren't losing your mind? Cuz I think that's the one that I struggled with for a while, cuz I'm just like, what?
In all honesty, it's not that I thought that I was crazy, but I thought I was just seeing things because, as you know, I was born legally blind, but I was also born with these psychic abilities. So for the longest time, I just thought that this was something that was a part of my eyesight. And then once I found out that the spirits and the people that I'm seeing, like that man across the room, I can see, but my friend can't see, I was like, okay.
Oh,
Uh,
that's trippy. No, I did
um,
not know that you were born legally blind. Girl.
yes, yes, I was. So it was very hard at first. So then when I like really started to understand these things, I then became angry. I was so angry. I was like, so you make me be born legally blind, but then you also let me see all these things. Why? And I
Mhm.
just couldn't answer that question. So it just became pure anger. I think that that was the biggest emotion for me when it came to my gifts and in the very beginning.
Yeah, my experience was less anger, more terror, because I have told the story before, but some of the first things that I started seeing was these shadow creatures, shadow figures literally surrounding my bed at night. And like internally, and this is actually going to go into one of the other clairs, which is claircognizance. That internal knowing, you don't know where it comes from, but you know. I knew that they were family. I knew that they were protecting me, but I'm like, you're scary as fudge crackers, because I'm 6 years old. I'm literally laying in my bed and I have like six of these things surrounding me. And I'm just like, what the heck is this? I'm not okay. What is this? And
Mm.
I knew that they were there. I knew that they were protecting me. I knew that they were family of some sort. This was like a protective measure, but that's terrifying. Like, let's be
Yeah,
honest. And I'm,
definitely.
oh God, I can't imagine. Like of course I have empathy for how yours came about, but for me that's just like, ooh.
I honestly, when it came to fear, my poor parents. So, my mom, on my mom's side, that's where I got a lot of my gifts
Mhm.
because we have Native Indian in our blood, especially being Cuban. So, it came from my mom's side, but because of the horrible things that my grandmother saw back in Cuba, she didn't want us to have gifts because she didn't want us to be in danger. So she tried to steal away my mom's gifts, but it didn't work. Um,
Blood is stronger than that. You can't seal that kind
yeah,
of stuff away. And quite frankly, in order to navigate the world now, I think it is absolutely necessary.
definitely. It was mostly like when I was young. So my parents knew that something was up with me. that I was not a normal child because I would be playing with myself, right? And I would
Hmm.
be giggling, I'd be laughing, I'd be talking, but I would be playing with myself. But I would also be looking up all the time. And like, like I always had like a little space as if somebody was next to me.
Hmm.
And then one day my parents are going through a family album. I just come up out of nowhere, sit down with them, and I'm looking at all these photos. And I instantly point out my grandfather and I say, "That's grandpa." And my dad was bewildered because I never met my grandparents because they died way before I was even a twinkle in his eye.
That's awesome.
And
Your
that's really when
grandfather's
my
your
dad started.
he's your guardian spirit, isn't he? Like for real, for
Yeah,
real.
definitely. My family is definitely some of my guardian spirits. My main one is Jason, which
Hmm.
was a best friend of mine when he was alive.
Absolutely. Oh, guardian spirits are so good. They're so good. They really are, and we're blessed to have them.
Until they yell at you.
Well, you know what?
At least mine yells at me. And he's like, get your butt in gear. And then he knows, like, I'm not very good with riddles. So what does he
Mhm.
do? He talks in riddles to
They
me.
do
And I'm
that.
like,
They do that so that you comprehend it better. I find that, oh my gosh, this actually goes into the next one, which is clairaudience, so being able to hear. Um,
yes.
and this one I actually have trouble with um, quite a bit because I don't hear too often, but when I do, it's just like a single word coming through, just like bam, 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 bam. I'm just hearing this single word and I'm just like, okay, what do you mean cake? And it's often when I'm talking to somebody and they're like, oh, cake. And I'm just like, please tell me what that means. I have no idea. Like, I am lost. Somebody help me. Um,
I totally get that.
but I find that they'll let you know in pardon me, my goodness, my coffee's making me phlegmy. Um, they let you know in like the weirdest ways because it's like they have to be roundabout so they're not giving you the answer because like
Uh-huh.
higher powers don't like that. They're just
Yeah.
like, no, 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 no. Let them learn. This is school. We are here to learn. Don't give them all the answers.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's guide them to the answer.
and so that they're sitting there in riddles and you're just like, I don't have brain power today. Like, please stop. Just tell me. Just tell me. Um, oh my gosh. So in terms of clairaudience, like I said, this is not one that I am all the time in tune with. I'm working towards it. But what are some of like the interesting things that you've had clairaudient experiences with?
Now, I will say that it's a double-edged sword just because it really does, like when people say, like, oh, the voice is in my head, it really does feel like that. It really does feel as if
Hmm.
there's just these multiple voices in your head. And sometimes I don't specifically know where it's coming from. Sometimes it's coming from a tree. Other times it's coming from a bird. Other times it's coming from an actual spirit. Other times I can hear sometimes the inner voice of somebody else that I'm talking to. Not very often. That's only happened on rare occasion. Now, the most interesting thing that I have learned through my Claire audience is that spirits are very political. They talk about politics
Oh my god, are you
so
serious?
much. I am not joking. I am not joking. And you know those old ladies that always sit on the porch with like their little knitting
Yes.
gossip? Yeah, they still gossip. Yeah. Even when they pass, they're still gossiping. Like
Oh, I love
they
it.
don't stop. And I'm just like hearing about their grandchildren's lives and how disappointed they are in them and like yada yada yada. And I'm like, wow, okay. I'm getting all the tea that I don't want.
It's just like, Granny, this tea is cold. Like, come on, man.
And you know how many of them call us stupid? They're like, oh no, this generation is just so stupid. They just don't understand the ways of the world and they have it easy. And I'm like, wow, okay. I can tell you haven't crossed over.
Oh, heck yeah, because they don't understand. No, I think you know what? I think that's part of the experience is I don't get that. I get pictures. My brain works in pictures. My brain doesn't work in audio for the most part. So I think that's really where I get the issue with that one.
Yeah. I get pictures sometimes too, but it's more so of like I'm immersed
Hmm.
into that environment. So if I see like a picture of a fire, I feel like my body is actually on fire.
Sometimes yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Um
And it's so, whew,
it's intense. It's
yes.
very intense. But oh gosh, I you know what? I would be the one that would be sitting on the porch, like talking to the ghost grannies. I have my tea set, like, let's go. Let's get a rocking chair.
I mean, some of them have very interesting stories. I won't
I
lie.
imagine. Absolutely. So the next is clairsentience. I know this one is my big one where just feeling things. It's you're able
Oh,
to
yes.
sense energy, intuitive. Like this is the one where it's all internal. It's almost like you've got like this internal radar and you can almost pinpoint things. And I will
Yeah.
say like this one is like the big one for me. Like I'm just like a big open radar just like beep 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 and constantly, which is why of course I have my space completely and totally warded because if I have things like going on in my house, sleeping is not happening. And of course, like I have children, so I have to make sure that they're okay as well because they are very open as well because there is a fortunate side to these gifts being genetic and there is an unfortunate side to these gifts being genetic.
Yes. I totally get that.
So, how about you with clairsentience? Like, how does that play into your daily experience?
Truly, I feel so much so often that I don't really rely on it.
Hmm.
So if I do feel something, I want to match it with something else. So when I start feeling something, I instantly try to use my clairvoyance to
Hmm.
see like an image come into my mind, if it's dangerous, if it's not dangerous, etc. Um, but the only places I can't really handle when it comes to my clairsentience being like way too strong is in hospitals, graveyards,
Hmm.
churches, those places. So whenever like we're passing by a graveyard, my mom will always say protect, protect because she knows that I just feel so much of it all at the same time. So I would honestly say my clairsentience and clairvoyance go hand in hand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember my brother is also sensitive. Like, he will never admit this. Like, my brother is also a sensitive, but I remember as a kid, we would sit there and be like, okay, we're passing a graveyard, hold your breath. And somehow, like, that created the
Yeah.
space for us to kind of block things out. I don't know. Um, because for some reason, like, we saw it as disrespectful while we're passing a graveyard to breathe when they can't any longer. One of those weird moments of being a kid, you're just like, where does that come from? Like,
Yes.
where did
Yeah.
that come from? Um, we love that for us. Oh my gosh. But yes, clairsentience, I am a constant radar. That is my constant experience.
I feel
Now,
you.
yes, and
Literally.
oh, I love you so much.
With my
Oh my
clairsentience.
god. I know. I have like little tentacles that go everywhere and I'm just like I'm going to absorb any negative energy in this area because I want to know what's going on with you and I want to make sure you're okay.
I mean,
Um,
honestly, I just do it just to be nosy. I'll be honest.
I mean, I'm more of like a mother bear to everybody, but you know that already. Um,
Yes.
but next we're going into that claircognizance, that intuitive knowing, that ping that just like comes out of nowhere and you're just like, okay, I know this. How the hell do I know this?
That never came in handy during school.
It's only oh, I actually have a story for that one. I actually have a story for that one because they're always like, "Show your work, show your work." We were doing a Sudoku and we were doing like a Sudoku as like partners. And I looked at one and I got a number and I was just like, "That one's a 9." And my partner looks at me, he's like, "How do you know?" I'm just like, "I don't know." Um and our teacher at the time, like, he allowed us, like, one person not to take our paper, but to go up and like verify with the answer key at at the front of the classroom and then come back.
Right.
And so she goes and she verifies. She's like, "You're right, but I want to know how you got to that." I'm just like, I don't have an answer for you. I'm just that weird kid. I got called cousin it in high school. I'm just like, just let me be. I don't know. I just know things. I'm sorry. Um,
I have a really funny story.
oh
So
please.
back in middle school, you remember like the old game of how many fingers am I holding up? Guess.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
That was really like when a lot of my abilities were so like way too strong for me.
Mhm.
And that's why I even at a point tried to run away from my abilities because
Mhm.
they were getting overwhelming. So I was known as the one that always knew how many fingers. They could be standing way behind me or even on the other side of the wall, and I knew how many fingers they were holding up. And I was known around the school for that for some gosh known reason. I mean, it was middle school. Not many things were entertaining back
I
then.
mean, middle school, that was oof, that was a rough time. Oh my gosh. No, the funny part is whenever I actually started dealing and delving into like the occult stuff more as a teenager, we had like a group of like 7 to 10 of us depending on that school year. One of them actually pulled out like flashcards that had like different symbols on it to try and see what's going on. What's funny is I wouldn't get the card that he was holding up and looking at. I would get the next card and the next card and the next card and the next card. So it was like I was pulling ahead instead of actually like what was there in the moment. So that for me is the most hilarious part because I pull ahead. I go into things that are not now, but in future times. so
Added one
it's so
jump ahead.
confusing. It is. It's frustrating. It's so frustrating because I'm like, I see how this is going to play out. And they're like, yeah, no. And I don't see like the step in front of me that I'm going to trip over, but I see everything else. And it's just, it's great. Oh my gosh. So that leads us into clairaudience. This is the ability to smell things. This one is
Oh,
very strong for me. Oh my God. And it has like this weird attachment because my family likes to use this one. Like if it is my um paternal grandmother, she will come in with the smell of her cigarettes, and her cigarettes are a very sweet smell. I don't know how to describe them other than like a sweet tobacco smell. Um and perfume. She actually worked at a perfume counter. So whenever I was pregnant with my oldest kid, I would smell it all the time. She was literally my guardian angel throughout that entire
oh,
pregnancy. And I do
that's so
believe a
sweet.
piece of her actually like reincarnated in my oldest daughter.
Oh,
Um, oh my gosh, it's wonderful, honestly. Um, it just that one's strong. During readings, I've smelled certain things. They're like, "How did you know?" And I'm just like, well, that's part of the thing. I don't know how I know. I just smell things. Ta da! Here I am.
for me, each archangel that I work with has a different scent.
mm,
And so I always know which one is around because not only can I like feel the energy, see it with, clair sentience.
Hmm.
But I can just smell it. Archangel Michael is usually like a minty, somewhat of a minty scent. And then Archangel Gabriel always smells like rosemary to me.
Okay.
And then my guardian Jason, he smells very similar to a kind of I don't know if you've ever smelled like the forest black axe spray,
I
but
don't
that's
think
what
I
it smells
have.
like. That's what it smells like. It's like a mixture of cologne, but also the mixture of a forest.
Okay. I know that, Axe spray, that's going to bring me back to that middle school place of
Yes.
the
Yes. Over
absolute
again.
terror. I'm walking through the hallway right in front of the band hall, and it's like this axe explosion just happened, and
Oh
you're
my
just like choking on the cloud. It's
God. Honestly, that I preferred Axe over the like 100 perfumes that the
Oh yeah.
girls had because they
Oh my
chose
god,
the wrong
yes.
ones every time
Always.
back in middle school.
Always. No, I preferred, you know what I preferred? I preferred the Adidas. Like all the boys wore the Adidas, and I
Yeah.
remember stealing stealing my boyfriend's Adidas at that time. I was like,
Yes.
screw it, I'm gonna wear it. Like this smells so good.
Yeah.
Um
I love that.
I wore it for the longest time. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. But Claire Aliens, I do want to kind of tie that to clairgustance because clairgustance is the ability to taste. This one
Yes.
has messed me up. Oh my gosh, this
Oh,
one has
tell
messed
me
me up.
about it.
There was this one reading that I was doing and it was sad because when people are coming to a psychic, when people are coming for like readings and stuff, a lot of times they're coming because they're like at the bottom, they need help, they don't know where to go, they're looking for guidance. This woman had lost her light. Everything
Oh,
about her had like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking back to it because it hit me so strong. This was reading her was the only reason I was online that day. All the other readings were just for, fun, pretty much.
yeah.
But she was it. She was the main show. I was there to help her. Um and I remember sitting there and I could smell like this most amazing food and I could taste it. And I sat there and I was just like, oh my God, this tastes like heaven. Like, this is like Mexican food times like 1,000. What is this? I am craving it. And I sat there, I was like, honey, when was the last time that you cooked? When did you stop cooking? When did you stop singing? When did you stop experiencing life and living? And she goes, how did you know? I was like, baby girl, I can taste it. And my God, you are a wizard. Like, dang. But it just that's one of those moments where I find spirit and the universe, whomever decides to give us these things, puts those senses, those abilities, um those ways to communicate into us so that we
Definitely.
can better understand the people that we are talking to. And I feel like even in this moment because I'm going back into her energy just thinking about it. I feel that she is doing so much better. Her heart feels oh my gosh, like 1,000 times better. And I'm so thankful for that because that woman, she oh
I
I
really feel like
oof.
to become like a true psychic, you really have to experience that kind of moment. Just like with an athlete, it's just all it takes is that one really good play
Mhm.
that you make to fall in love with the sport. And even after all the hard work and everything, you just remember that one play, that one moment that really connected with your soul and your heart. And I
Mhm.
feel that that's just the same thing when it comes to being a psychic. It really
Absolutely.
just takes that one experience to really fall in love with it.
Absolutely. And you know, I'm I always call myself a healer's healer because I find that the people that are attracted to me, there are other psychics, there are other mediums, there are other people that are healing others all the time. And I'm just like, okay, when did you last fill up your cup?
Yeah.
Um, because I call us cups because that's what we are. We are
Yeah.
healers, we are cups, and we have to remember that we cannot fill other people from an empty vessel. We have to take care of ourselves as well. And so that's where, I come in and I'm just like, I'm here. Let's do the work. Um but yes, that's my favorite experience with clairgustance because I really feel like I got to her in the nick of time kind of thing.
That's awesome. I think my the best experience I've ever had with Claire Gustance is I was also doing a reading for this woman,
Mhm.
and I could taste a dessert, but it would I honestly I don't even know how to really describe the taste just because I've never actually had it. But it was similar to the texture of flan, but it was like a
Mhm.
lot sweeter. And then I was tasting like a little bit of that bitterness that that alcohol leaves, kind of
Mhm.
like when you have chocolate that's filled with alcohol.
Yep.
It was that same kind of bitter taste, but also with the sweetness. And I was telling her that I could taste this, and she told me that it was a dish that her and her father used to share
Mhm.
together, and it was like a tradition for them to always share this dessert with one another. And then when he passed away, she left the dish, like she left a slice of it at his grave so that he could enjoy it, and she like ate another slice while sitting there, and she said that she could feel as if he was standing next to her enjoying it with her,
Oh
even
my
if he
god.
wasn't eating it physically. She could feel him, and she just knew that he was there, and he was sharing the dish with her again like they always did.
Oh my gosh. That is beautiful. That's what that
I was
is.
like,
It's like I'm gonna
this is
cry. I'm gonna cry you just telling me, honestly. But I like,
right.
oh,
I'm
good
like, I'm too
gravy.
emotional for this.
I mean, we have to be though. Like in
Yes.
in what we do and in how we work, I think being overly emotional, like literally sitting in the well of emotion to allow other people's um feelings to come through to us is kind of how we have to be. And that actually leads us into our next one, which is Claire empathy. And everyone's heard
Right.
of an empath and just
Woo
everything
woo.
like that. And everyone wants to claim to be an empath, which technically
Right.
you can be. You can be. Everyone, I do believe, has psychic gifts, but it's become kind of a buzzword.
Right.
So
I'm just like, why do you want to be an empath?
it's like, this is hell. This can be so bad
Like,
sometimes. Why do you
what?
want it?
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Oh
like,
my
what?
god.
I walk into a store and I just start crying for no entire reason.
Exactly. Or like you look at somebody and you get so like
So angry.
angry.
Like,
Yes.
like I want to hurt you, but I don't know why.
It's like, why do I feel this way? This is intrusive. That's what that is.
Yes.
Um but my clear empathy also comes along with sometimes I'll get body pain um in that it'll be a way to kind of allow me to talk to the client or the customer or whomever I'm reading, and be like, I'm feeling this in this area. um what does this mean to you? And they're like, oh, X, Y, and Z, like there's an old injury there or something. And strangely enough, I have found that if I am talking to a woman or I'm reading a woman, it appears on the same side of the body. But if I'm reading a man, it'll appear on the opposite side of my body. And that's very odd for me. And it's something that I've just actually figured out because I'm just like, okay, like I'm feeling something in my left arm. And they're like, well, it's the right arm. I'm just like, okay, well, cool. I guess we're on opposite day now. Um, but the feeling what other people feel, I mean, that one's trippy. That one's so trippy.
It does make sense though, because as a studying psychologist, um, the left side of our brain controls the right side, and then the
Hmm.
right side of our brain actually controls the left side of our body. So it actually does make sense. And then the left side of our body is how we receive energy, and then the right hand is how we give it out. So no,
Hmm.
I honestly think that that makes sense.
I've also heard because most of the like more magic type books and everything like about alchemy and whatnot, they're actually written by men. And women are like this perfect opposite. We're equal and opposite. Um, and I've started experimenting with this lately, even in my crystals and whatnot, because I wear a couple of crystal bracelets to assist me because I have trouble with energy flow sometimes. And it's great. It's a fantastic problem to have when you're a practitioner. Um, but I found that
Feel
it
the
actually
vibration.
works if we take it in the opposite, where the masculine side is actually receiving, like we're receiving through the masculine side, and then we're projecting through the feminine side. So I would say, just give that a try, see how that feels, because that might. I don't know if it'll produce results for you, but it's produced results for me. It's pretty interesting.
That is very interesting. I mean, honestly, whenever I've given readings and such, I usually look at the aura.
Hmm.
For me, pain and things that need medical attention appear as red and black. So if it's just irritated or if there's pressure, then I see red. But if
Hmm.
it needs immediate medical attention, then it's a black dot that I see right on their body.
Oh goodness, yeah. For the most part, like auras, there will be times where I will be so tuned into somebody, I'm just like, actually my own therapist, um I tuned into her and it was just like this bright aqua blue, and I'm just like, it's so lovely. I love seeing that. It's so
Aw.
beautiful because she has such a beautiful soul. Um but I have to like really tune in to like fully encompass that site. And I think it's more so one of those, I have put up so many barriers because I don't want everybody leaking into me in that way that
Ah, yeah.
it has to
Makes
be
sense,
certain people.
Spencer. Yes, I'm like, I have so many secrets. Secret. No.
So many secrets.
Secret. I'm like, when it comes to my energy, I'm like, my precious.
My
My
precious.
precious.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love it. But oh, that Claire empathy though, that has helped a lot because it's like somebody walks into a room, you're like, what's wrong?
Yes.
And they're just like, nothing. I'm just BS.
As somebody that wants to be a social worker
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of like that person that people can come to,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely does come in handy. Not only because I can see like the emotions in their aura,
Mm-hmm.
but feeling them is just a whole different understanding. Because
It
yes, I
really
can
is.
see them energetically, but when you feel them, it's just so different because anger might have one definition, but it doesn't mean that everybody feels it the same way. So it's very
No.
interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of times like what I'll feel for me, like my center of feeling is literally like in my that diaphragm area right underneath the rib cage. That
Yes,
is like that.
solar plexus.
Yes,
Yeah,
solar plexus
for
all
me too.
day.
Oh my God.
That's because
It's like
we're
a second
sisters.
heart.
It's fine. But
Yes.
oh my gosh, that's where I get it, and that'll be where that clairsentience, claircognizance comes in as well. That's my radar, and then like it pops up into my brain like this knowing, and I'm just like, excellent, I know things now. How the hell did that happen? But the strange part is like if it's a negative feeling, it'll actually like push down into the bottom left hand of my stomach, and I don't know why it pushes down into that area, but it I don't know if it's like a protective measure or whatnot, but it's almost like a sick feeling that happens like in the bottom left hand of my stomach to tell me like something's wrong, something's negative, it's like not okay. Especially like those darker feelings of like anger and hatred and just that gaping hole of depression that
Oh
I
my
encounter on
God.
a daily basis with a lot of the people that I'm reading, because it's just like, honey, like you're so lost. We
Yes.
gotta find you again. I don't know why it does that for me, but that's how that kind of plays out. So it's interesting.
For me, I would say whenever there's something negative, it's, oh, I hate, oh my God. Well, okay, I strongly dislike. Claire, for me, clairgustance
Hmm.
comes up because whenever something negative is around, I taste black licorice
Oh no.
and I can't stand it so much.
Oh.
It's horrid, absolutely horrid. And then if it's not the licorice,
Hmm.
then my clairsentience will come in and it feels like I'm covered in tar
Yes. Oh my
every
gosh, that's actually
time.
something I wanted to talk about.
I've
So,
never been in tar, but I just know. I know that it's
it's
tar.
sticky, it's hot, it's covering everything. It feels like you can't breathe. Yes.
Yes. It's
Oh my gosh. It's
horrible.
terrible. It's absolutely abhorrently terrible. Um Now, I've actually made a couple of clients laugh with this because there are different people that they've had me tune into. One of them I call crayon people, and there's nothing wrong with crayon people. They're more of the physical world. They're not spiritual at all. They're not curious. They're more like, okay, we're baseline, we're base level, like let's live this life. And they feel like wax to me. I don't know what that is. Have you experienced something very similar to that?
Yes. Yes, I have. I feel like so many things. I will feel as if there's been times where I know that there's somebody that's spiritual
Uh-huh.
because I can either smell or I feel as if I'm covered in melting wax.
So a spiritual person feels like melting wax to you.
Yeah. And I think
Okay.
it's just because I'll ask them, I'm like, are you a spiritual person? Like, do you burn candles at all or anything? And they're like, yeah, yeah, I do. And I'm like, okay, okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, great, okay.
That's actually hilarious.
Because
That's
I feel melty wax here.
that's awesome. I wouldn't have expected that. Because though
And then if
that's
like,
the normal people for me. Like that's like the baseline. I'm here to live just this life and not be curious about anything else. That's what they feel like to me.
and then if they're like far in their spirituality, the wax feels like it hardens after a bit. Like if I get stiff, it hardens and I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, so you're good with your spirituality, aren't you? Like you're pretty far. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, okay, coolio, good for you. Awesome. Spread it around. Great. And
I
then if
love
they're
that.
still not that far, it feels like I'm still melting. Like I'm just melting on and on. I'm like, you need to stop procrastinating. You need to get your butt in gear and continue the spirituality. And they're like,
You know what?
okay.
As you talk about that, I can kind of see it in my head. And it makes sense because we're molding ourselves into something different. The wax has to melt first. I
Mm-hmm.
got you. I got you. Um mine is totally different cuz whenever I'm feeling like a spiritually open person, um I actually, like, strangely enough, I don't really feel it in the solar plexus area like I normally do. It almost like reaches up into that heart center, and it's like this
Yes.
this rush of like waterfall openness, and I'm just like, "Oh, I'm matching with somebody. I'm so excited."
I love it. Yes. I honestly get excited too. Like whenever my heart starts giving a beat, I'm like, oh, I have a crush, a spiritual
We
crush.
have spiritual crushes. It's fine. No, there is one I wanted to talk to you about because this one scares me whenever I encounter them. It's either like a client that's coming in and they have really negative intentions, or they're reading into somebody and this person is just like, think narcissist, an actual narcissist, not like Instagram. Oh my God, he's a narcissist. You know exactly what I mean. But
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Oh my gosh.
they
Yeah.
make me feel like I swallowed slugs. I go into this person and ugh, like I'm just even thinking about it, I'm starting to get nauseous. But it's like I have this slimy, slippery, nasty feeling that feels like it's gone down my throat. And I get so nauseated. I'm just like, oh yeah, no, that one's a bad deal. Don't interact.
For
Everything
me,
about them is terrible.
I think it's acid reflex. Every time I'm around a really like negative person,
Hmm.
it's acid reflex that just comes up out of nowhere. And I don't have issues with acid, but then
Hmm.
all of a sudden it's like my stomach goes into haywire and I just get like a really bad acid reflex and that it just feels like I'm burning. And
Oof.
it's really tough for me to be honest with those that I feel are just very negative
Hmm.
just because I know that I'm not perfect. So it's just hard for me to tell people straight up, you know, you're a horrible person or you just need to stop being so selfish. Like stuff like they
That's
want me to
hard
say
to
that,
say. That's
but
so
I
hard to
can't.
say sometimes. Oh my God.
So my throat chakra will just be like burning,
Hmm.
burning because they want me to say these things and I'm just like, but I'm too nice.
I wonder honestly if that has to do, and I know I'm gonna pull astrology into this real quick because I know that you're a Sagittarius, correct?
Yes, I'm a Sagittarius rising and Aquarius moon.
Excellent. So I am a Cancer, um, Cancer Sun, Cancer Rising, Capricorn Moon. So I'm very much like opposite on that, and I think that's why we have so much fun. Is we kind of like we've got the entire wheel right there. We're good.
Yes,
Um,
yes, we do.
but I think that's one of the reasons why the way that I experience things is so different from you is because I am very much water. I am very much liquid. And so if something is wrong, it's slimy, it's viscous, it's um how do I put it? Just not right. It's not fluid. It's not fluid like
Yeah,
it should be. Um
yeah.
and if they don't want to
Blockstream.
dive into that, then it's very much the opposite of water. And of course, wax will never really fully go into water.
Yes, it's true.
And so for you, it's a different kind of burning. It's a different kind of sensation.
Yes, a lot of burning, a lot of I have a lot of heat.
Hmm.
My body temperature is high, so I always feel hot all of the time. Even though I can do energy work and I can cool the room around me, still
Hmm.
my it's my body that just like absorbs all of this heat
Hmm.
and just it kind of feels like a hot flash, but I know it's not because even if I look at my aura, it looks like there's an actual flame. Like my body just became a flame.
Hmm.
And it's just because that energy is all coming in for me.
Absolutely. And honestly, like, let's hook you up to a generator. Let's...
Yes, I can give you all the power you need. I will be the shock of your life.
Oh my gosh, yes. I cannot wait to go to Florida because, girl.
Yeah.
But But this talk has been amazing. Thank you so much. I can't wait to, do another talk like this because I think having two different perspectives here is so important, especially in, the psychic community and how people feel things. Yes, there are some people that are going to be like completely open, but at what cost? Because unfortunately, there was a cost for you to be so open to the other side. Um,
Yes, definitely.
and while I don't feel things as strongly as you, um, and I don't think I'll ever actually get to that point, um, because I would have to lose something pretty important in order for that to happen. Um, but thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. This is
Oh, thank
lovely.
you. I love being with you.
More talking soon. Um,
Yes.
but this is Devi on the Open Resourcery and my dear friend Raven. And we will be back for another chat sometime in the future. But go ahead, give us a like, give us a subscribe, let us know your thoughts. Woohoo! And
Good luck for the next year if you do.
good luck for the next year if you do. This is Devi on the Open Resourcery, and we hope to see you next time.